For myself, the fear of love or intimacy is being comfortable and safe with my independence. I decided long ago when I was a young person that I have a duty to my lineage and that I desire to liberate 14 generations. And for me, that's a daunting task. And for me, that requires a lot of courage, a lot of stamina, and a lot of perseverance. So my routine of magic, we can say, of empowering myself, of encouraging myself, believing in myself, is very important to me. And I do not want to ever experience the great disrespect of a man who does not cherish or admire my authenticity or my sense of duty to spirituality, right? It's not necessarily looking for a spiritual man because we're all spiritual, and some spiritual people are actually a little bit insane, a little bit wacko, it's not about that. It's more so I offer so much, right, to a partner that I choose, right? And there's just how I am, right? I have this sort of masculine exterior that I kind of put in my aura, right? Kind of like F off because there are creeps out here in this world, right? But I also have this very inner Piscean, deep love, deep love. And when I offer that to somebody, it's like forever, and it's very sincere, and it's very organic, and it's very kindred. And many men don't understand, like many men, I'm not all men, right? But there are many men who are not emotionally or spiritually mature enough to understand what that means, right? Usually men who are older, right? 35 and up kind of thing. They start to understand how valuable a woman of virtue is, right? A woman who is practicing, right, the goddess and high priestess lineage. And as we know, women are our femininity has been attacked, it has been belittled, it has been shamed. There's a lot of aggression towards the feminine, the femme body on this planet at this time, right? During the patriarchal age, we were basically mute, and we were derobed, right? We were derobed. And a lot of us women in our lineage, we have a lot of generational trauma, and we have a lot of ancestral curses. And a part of my duty, and not just me, but many women in this whole femininity community, right, where we're really kind of reconnecting and reinstating our moon magic, right, is that we have to recover, right? We have to repair, we have to heal, we have to purge, we have to mend, we have to reprogram ourselves from the mind, body, and spirit. And it seems quite daunting, and that's why there's this great sort of teaching of endurance, and we know that as women, we know tolerance so much, right? Like we've spent lifetimes just in tolerance, right? Generations of women just being tolerant to men who 35 and up, but they're really boys. They have a lot of power struggle, a lot of egomania, a lot of power games, power manipulation, power hoarding, power aggression, power competition. And we as women just kind of stood on the side like this voice of reason, but we couldn't speak, we couldn't express, we really couldn't be what is most natural for us to be, which is a Shakti. We're all part of a Shakti lineage, regardless if you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Hawaiian. We all are part of a Shakti lineage. And basically what that means is we all have within our lineage somewhere 7, 14, 22 generations of a Shakti lineage where there's a highly expressive woman we call the matriarch. The woman in the lineage, grandmother, aunt, great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother, that has this very talented life where there's a lot of sort of nobility to what that woman has offers to the generation is considered the matriarch. And a lot of us are remembering what the matriarch is, and also the pain associated with the witch trials and stuff like that, right? To practice alchemy, empowerment, manifestation was considered very witchy, was considered very unacceptable, right? Because us as women, we basically were sought out for our ability to procreate and have children. But we understand now in our sort of community of women that we're more than just procreation. We actually are the culture and the artistry of society. And without cultured artistry, society becomes very dull, and society really lacks a voice of reason or spiritual emotional maturity to actually make constructive and creative decisions that are about well-being and about care for the environment and about ingenuity and innovation in the form of irrigation, agriculture, agritexture, right? When it comes to math and science, really the sort of center of the society is the culture and the artistry. And the lack of it really, it sort of drains the richness, right? The richness of the mind, body, and spirit, right? It's the woman, the ma, the mother, right? That really brings about this richness to the generation. We're talking about spiritual richness, focus, attentiveness, victory, breakthrough, healing, discovery, philosophy, when it comes to art and music and celebration and ritual and earth power, earth medicine, earth remedy, earth connection, right? Without that earth connection that the woman provides, we're just kind of aimless, really, right? We have the power game, the power struggle, the power aggression, the power competition, but we don't really have the spine. It's called head shoulders. We don't have the head shoulders. We call the integrity and the credibility, as well as the merit to really provide well-being, right? Because without the well-being, we're very stripped, we're very we're malnourished, and we lack intelligence, and we're desperate, and we're greedy, and we're very imbalanced, right? So for me, when it comes to the fear of love or fear of intimacy, it's really about, I know my past lives, and I know past lives that I have navigated through. There has been lifetimes of, darkness, as we all go through, right? It's a part of our sort of gaining our wings, you can say, right? The God gives us these assignments that are very daunting and seem very pressurizing, right? In order for us to gain the strength to become a leader, to become a general, become a sort of voice of reason amongst the sort of imbalances that seem way insurmountable, right? So I want to feel safe and want to feel comfortable, but for me, I feel most safe and most comfortable when I'm in my independent mind, because that's what I'm used to. Because in my past lives, many people were reliant on me, and even in this life, I feel the ancestors and the lineage is reliant on me. It's on me. I feel like it's on me. And I know that to feel safe and to feel comfortable, I'm going to have to really offer you could say my sacred pearl, right? Your sacred pearl. Women have a sacred pearl, right? And to offer that and to experience disrespect of any form, or just any form of immaturity that is very belittling, or anything that really shrinks me, right? Or sort of encages me, or doesn't support or believe in the sort of moon magic that I am desire to embody and desire to practice and to be a very devoted student of and to teach. To not have that be cherished and cared for, right, is the sort of deep fear I have, or the deep fear. And intimacy, again, to me, it's like deep love. So it's like, friend for a life, literally blood friend. You would cut your hand and you cut their hand, and you share your blood, that kind of thing. I know it's kind of, right, it sounds witchy, but that's kind of me. And I'm very lighthearted and very kindred, but I don't take sort of sharing of my pearl very lightly. And us women, we know that we have to be protective of ourselves and we have to be discerning. But for me, with fear of intimacy, I don't know. I don't know how to fully be comfortable with, we could say, with a man, right? And we all have our sort of fears or insecurities, and I just wanted to share mine, because that's kind of the primary one. Overall, like moving past, right, feeling safe and comfortable. I mean, that's pretty easy, right? That's nothing like, that's not nothing that can't be moved through and can't soften and can't release, right? But I wanted to share that with you all to encourage you to go intimate and to become vulnerable with yourself, because there is great mystery and also great epiphany that can be found within yourself. And the more you kind of become aware and attentive to your inner feelings and your own emotions, the more that you are going to be able to connect with another human being and really be honest with someone, right? Because a lot of times we're not honest with people because we don't really know ourselves. So the reason we quote unquote dishonest or lie or manipulate or deceive is because we are not entirely being honest with our own heart and what we truly want, because either we don't feel worthy to have what we truly want, or we feel ashamed of our most natural self-expression, like, it's not good enough, our self-expression, right? If we're goofy or if we're serious, whatever it is, we're not accepting of that. Or we don't feel a emotionally able to have deep love, right? So we're dishonest, right? Directly, indirectly. So, all these kinds of manipulations or deceptions, it's really because we're not in touch with our inner child. And either we're a man and we're like total macho and like inner child, no, that doesn't real, right? Or we're a woman, we're like inner child, that sounds something odd, right? But our emotional body is that inner child, and children are the most honest people on this planet. They have no sense of, I don't listen to my heart. They're completely fearless, and then they get very conditioned and programmed to basically take on a lot of belief systems that are very restricting, very limiting, and basically they sort of conditioning them to follow in the footsteps of a status quo or power game or power struggle or a power dilemma or power aggression or power competition that really isn't about the well-being of the emotional and spiritual self, but more so about the maintaining of we could just say a patriarchal norm, right? But the inner child is the dreamer. It's imaginative, it's inspired, it's creative, it's all things about joy and peace and freedom and liberty and empowerment and being who you are, and self-expressive and self-determined and self-persevered, right? So when we're most honest with ourselves is usually when we are talking to that inner child. And that's what I do constantly. It's kind of like my thing, where I ask my inner child, what is my fear of, like, what is holding me back when it comes to expressing love or giving and receiving love? What's holding me back? Or I can, I ask my inner child, okay, why do I feel hesitant, resistant, or anxious or fearful of intimacy, right? Of connecting. And my inner child always says safety and comfort. I don't feel entirely safe with giving myself because I'm so used to being independent, and to actually open up that door to relying on somebody is a little scary for me. Because I've had past lives where I had to rely on myself. And it's when you've had a lot of past lives of that, it can be, it's something you have to breathe, you have to work, massage, and you have to loosen, and you have to sort of, change is, it has to, it has to, you kind of relax into it. You kind of like force it and push it. You gotta like, okay, I gotta relax. Okay, I wanna change this pattern, but I can't force it because that's gonna make it worse, and I'm gonna be very reactive, and I'm gonna be very overwhelmed. But I do have to relax and just kind of, okay, I'm aware that, I fear I have some, safety and comfort sort of issues that based on my inner child and what she says. And I'm just going to relax. Okay, I see the pattern of holding back, being resistant, not wanting to share too much about myself, which is interesting. I share with you guys like, but with in actual intimate, kind of not so much. It's like I go in and then I kind of go out and kind of, it's like dipping your feet in, but you're not really, I don't know if I'm going to put my whole body in there, because once I do, I'm submerged. And if it was the wrong choice, right, then I'm like, I gotta clean all that off, right? If it's not holy water and I'm dumping into a swamp with bacteria, I gotta clean all that off, right? So it also, safety and being comfortable is about trusting myself, and really about trusting the guides, and really trusting that that my sacred pearl is always protected by the divine, right? My sacred pearl, regardless of heartbreaks that I've gone through, regardless of any sort of feeling sort of misunderstood or disrespected in relationship, regardless, my sacred pearl is always protected, right? Nobody can steal that from me. Nobody can be envious. Nobody can take it. Nobody can drain it. Nobody can try to manipulate it. It's protected, utterly protected by the divine. So when I feel that, and I create a mantra around that, and I create an affirmation about that, and really install that into my belief system, really I understand that the sort of root safety, and this root kind of feeling like uncomfortable with sharing myself with somebody and relying on somebody, is really about having my pearl taken, or having the pearl stolen, or having the pearl, the pearl of who I am, misunderstood and distorted and used for for something that is not going to bring more of who I am to the forefront, but shrink me and bring less of who I am. Because a lot of us, we have relationships and we realize I'm being shrunken by it. I don't feel like it's really expanding me. I don't feel like it's really opening up greater doors of exploration, but kind of holding me at where I'm at, but limiting or restricting me in the way that it doesn't really give me that challenge or that pressure or that push to really reach, to level up in an extraordinary way, right? Because any relationship, it should feel extraordinary to you. It should not feel like you're just bored, right? Some people are just bored, or you're just paying the bills and you're just transactionally got good sex. But then when it really comes to, are we creating together? Like, are we creating, like, what are we creating together? Not just status quo, just paying bills, but are we creating something together, right? Are we creating magic? Are we creating manifestation? Are we creating ideas, projects, endeavors, basically culture and artistry together that fills our life with this sort of enriching experience, right? Are we emotionally and spiritually um, activated by this union? Like, right? Are we being encouraged to be more of more of ourselves because of this connection? Or are we compromising to the point where we're losing a part of ourselves? Or we are compromising to the point where we are trying to get each other to be what we want to be, but it's not natural for us to be what they want us to be, right? So again, connecting with your inner child, asking your inner child, like, okay, what do I truly desire in a partnership? Okay, I want to experience immense creativity, immense sort of major empowerment in creativity. That's mine. Yours could be different, right? You could be, I want emotional care, or I want I want to be provided for as a woman, right? A man who wants to offer a very beautiful home, right? Whatever it is that you as a woman, what makes your inner child sort of like light up when you say that, or when you speak it out loud to the universe, right? When you envision it, when you dream it, that is your inner child saying that that's your future self. That's what you are meant to have. Now, when we disconnect from inner child, we begin to wander and drift, and we start to take on these beliefs of other people and agendas, dark agendas, all kinds of agendas, and parent agendas, society agendas, all these agendas. And we start to lose that sort of magic of the inner child, and we start to lose the sort of vision, the projection the inner child has for our future self. But we always return back to that when we start to really be intimate and vulnerable, and start to become aware of the duty we have to our emotional and our spiritual well-being, and the great sort of completion and contentment and deep healing we have. We all have a duty to deep healing on this earth, this planet, and that's guided by the inner child, the healing. That's when we're soft. It's where we're very kindred. It's very, very playful, but it's also where we're our most authentic, liberated, and basically free. And that's when we're the highest manifesting force on this planet, when our inner child is very much, we're in communication, and we have a direct line to the honesty that is the inner child. Because then, we don't so much second guess, question, have this judgment, feel embarrassed, and feel anxious, or feel like, I'm not good enough, or like something's wrong with me. We don't have that so much. So those sort of cultural chains that a lot of us take on from, basically, we're being told for so many generations that what we express, it has nothing to offer unless it fits into what the patriarch preaches. Anything that is expansive beyond that is you are outcasted, and you are ridiculed for that, right? Even if that expansive sort of moon magic that you offer in your manifestation and your alchemy and your science and your imagination actually has a knowledge and a sort of a power and a service to this planet, it doesn't matter. You're ridiculed for it. So we all have this sort of, when it comes to being honest with our inner child and communicating with the inner child, we're all like, that is something I cannot do. And that's a way of that the patriarchal age, or and the way that whoever set this up, right? It's a way for them to basically strip us of our manifestation power. Because when we're not connected with our inner child, we're not honest with ourselves, we're not aware, we don't pay attention, we just allow ourselves to be bored and to just drift and wander into things that really are not what we want. And because we have low self-worth, we don't feel good enough, or we don't really believe in what we truly desire. What happens is we make a lot of mistakes. We make choices that are really not for our future self, right? The vision and the great sort of projection of our victory. And therefore we get ourselves tied up with people. We get ourselves sort of bound. We get ourselves entrapped. We get all these kind of burdens and just baggage we call trauma, and all these sort of misfortune, or whatever it is, karma, whatever you want to call it. And that really creates more work, right? For us to really, we have to move through all of that to actually get somewhere. We have to basically solve all of that before we can really get somewhere. We're talking about basically from the start, we're given the greatest tool, and that is our inner child. And the greatest tool our inner child gives us is high manifestation power, because when you're unblocked and you tend to have like limitless amount of energy, which children have, limitless amount of energy, and you also have limitless amount of imagination, and you also have this sort of vision. Like children have a very clear vision. You have this very powerful magnetic projection. You are like, whoa, you're very on target. Like you're like the Archer pose to like a T. Like you are exactly the right time at the right place, right? Always, right? Because that posture and that sort of stature these children have, and the inner child you inside you has, it's undeniable that it's a mover and shaker, right? And that it's expressive, and that what it offers is something that is quite expansive, and what it offers is something that's quite honest, to the point where it'll get you where you need to go, and therefore you won't be so easily seduced, tempted into these illusionary realities where you're drained, you're tied up, you're bound, you're insecure, you're fearful, you're doubtful, and you live your life like that, and you never really get to experience anything that your inner child really set up for you, which is breakthrough, victory, harmonious relationship, healing, recovering, repairing, releasing of generational trauma, overcoming, ancestral curses, and really experiencing the authenticity of your immense beauty, right? Your immense beauty. And that's what the inner child wants, but we dishonest, and then we get all kind of into things that are very earthbound, that are very dense, very fleshy, that we don't need to experience, but we experience it as a way, sometimes it's a way back to our inner child, because when we really are in the thick of it and we don't know how to get out, that's when we have to fully surrender to the inner child. Or we go through it because we really want to experience our empowerment, and experience our ability to face our destructive ways, to face the inner destroyer, or the destroyer that's around, to face it with great creative power. Because when you are deep in that destroying energy, which again, when you're destroying energy, you're basically you're denying your healing, you're denying love, you're denying self-acceptance, you're allowing yourself to take on these fears and these beliefs that really are about kind of making you believe that you're unworthy, you're not good enough, so therefore you become desperate, and you become very, very power hungry, and very imbalanced, and uncontent, is that the word, uncontent. But when you really start to face the destroyer, the inner enemy, the outer enemy, that's when you really gain your creative power. And those people who really want to know how to develop a sort of a strong creative sort of leadership and command, they go into the destructive, to face it, and to become like a general to their own life. And in turn, that makes their creativity not just very imaginative and childlike, but also very, very, there's an authoritative sort of excellence to it that can actually bring a lot of unity, and a lot of structural changes, and a lot of sort of revolutions that bring about great movement of the human psyche, and progress, and development of the human consciousness, because it sometimes needs to have a very strong life force of an individual, group of individuals, for the human consciousness to really be moved in the right direction, right? So again, with you and your own inner child, connecting with that, asking the question, why am I hesitant to love, to give love, to receive love? And just allow that inner child to speak to you, right? It could be, I'm holding on to fear, I'm holding on to past memories, I don't want to open up and be let down, whatever it is. Just let yourself kind of meditate, and okay, this is what I'm getting. And why do I fear intimacy? What is causing resistance towards intimacy? And just close your eyes, and just allow the inner child, which it will be a very subtle, very soft, and very feminine voice. Either you're a man or a woman. It'll be very feminine. It'll tend to be very sort of cheerful, and it'll be very uplifting. It'll be very soothing when your inner child speaks. Very, very motherly if you're a man or a woman. Very, very soothing, very motherly. And that's how you know it's that inner child. It will say, like, for me, why am I hesitant to give love and receive love in a relationship? I don't know how to rely on somebody. I I feel safe and comfortable in my own space, and I don't know how to feel safe and comfortable in a joined space. I don't, and that causes me to hold back and to be a little bit hesitant. When I ask myself, why am I resistant of why do I resist intimacy? My inner child says that giving my pearl to someone is it's the most endearing thing, and the fear of giving it to someone who will not worship it would really make me feel like smaller or less of who I am as a divine woman with a very sacred pearl inside. So that's kind of me, and you can have your own sort of, again, the two questions is, why am I hesitant to give and receive love? Close your eyes, listen to your inner child. Why am I resistant of intimacy? Why do I resist intimacy? Close your eyes and then allow your inner child to speak, and it'll tell you. And it'll also comfort you, right? It will comfort you and let you know that this pattern that you want to change, or whatever it is you want to move past, or whatever it is that you want to sort of overcome or open up to, expand, the inner child will basically give you sort of ideas in your dreams and meditation, and it'll just give you ideas, it'll give you signs, it'll give you kind of clues in your sort of practice, in your just when you open your mind and you become more still and more relaxed and in a state of being soothed. It tends when these ideas come where you'll feel guided to practices or classes or curriculums or whatever it is that's going to give you that sort of encouragement to move beyond your comforts, right? To move beyond your previous identity and your previous this is who I am. It'll give you that sort of encouragement to move beyond the comforts, because that's what it is. Fear is like we're used to being, we're comfy and cozy being in the memory, or being in I'm safe by myself. We're comfortable with the program or the belief system. We're comfortable with, as things are. But we know in love and in intimacy, it's not about as things are. It's about as things grow and as things heal and things begin to really open up. And that can be a little bit scary. But as things are, right, it doesn't really give us that contentment or that completion, because we are here to not just be as things are, things in the past, but we really are to grow more beautiful as we age, not kind of plateau or kind of becomes bored and then stale and then just keep it as it is and then just really feel no sense of deep healing or creative sort of expansion. So we can experience in the love, right? It's not as things are, it's as things open up, things reveal, things release, and things become more kindred, right? And things become they become more revolutionary in the way that when you are aware and you're paying attention to who you are, you experience so much revolution inside yourself, and the way that the patterns, the habits, the whole comfort, and the whole identity of who you are and what you're used to and where you've been, it really begins to transform. And it does it so subtly, so effortlessly, because you just are opening, right? You're just opening, and with that opening, there's new things that come out of you, and the old things that were you, they kind of just slide off, because as you open up to new things, what things were and old perspectives and comforts, they just kind of, they dissipate as this growth in you begins to take the primary position inside you. And these these old things become secondary position, then eventually they get pushed back to third position, and then fourth position, and then these old comforts and habits and identities, eventually they just kind of drop off as the primary you of the new growth you have, that becomes the sort of center and the sort of the new experience of who you are. And that's what we want. We want a new experience of who we are, experience of love and friendship and kindredness and connection and creativity and prosperity and abundance and family and lineage. We want a more energy of growth and beauty and breakthrough and victory, and more energy, more experience of opening up to the inner child. And it's great mission and ambition for us. Now, if we're willing to listen to the mission and ambition of the inner child, we'll be surprised that it will lead us directly into a very magical life, a lot of moon magic. And who doesn't want moon magic? Nobody wants to be bored, stale, stark, stoic, just dishonest and in struggling in their power games and power aggression, and feeling imbalanced and disconnected from their inner child, and angry, and in carrying all this childhood trauma and all this sort of low energy. Nobody wants that. People want to have moon magic. That's what they want. And an inner child is not just soft and soothing. An inner child also is fearless, in the way that the inner child knows that there's a lot challenge, and there's going to be challenge for the rest of life. But the inner child also has enough energy and limitless imagination to solve not just one problem, two problems, to solve all the problems of what's holding us back, and what's keeping us resistant of our own grace and our own beauty and our own sort of opening. Because again, when we are in the mission and ambition of that inner child, our vision, our projection of that future self is moon magic, pure moon magic, with we call manifestation, dedication, and just this sort of divine energy that people have, that not everybody has. This divine energy where you just feel in that divine energy that you are capable, and that you are capable of something quite extraordinary to your soul and to your offering, that is unique to your pearl as a woman and as a man. And that pearl of who you are, that inner child, that mission and ambition of who you are, actually is your voice of reason. It is your divine energy that's given to you who are accepting of the moon magic, opening up to it, embracing it, expressing it, creating with it, and experiencing the sort of the sort of the deep contentment and completion when it comes to really up leveling into a very opportunity and possibility that's well manifested. I think that's what we want. So hopefully this helps you in Satnam.